Jack, feels great to be back.
We're back.
A couple weeks off, holidays. Hope everyone enjoyed them. But man, I'm ready to get going here. For those that
Right.
don't know, today, since our regular season has wrapped up, it will be our first Sweet Life award ceremony. It's going to be a little different. We're not going to talk MVPs. We're not going to talk Offensive Player of the Years, but we got some awards that we'd like to hand out this year. And we're going to go over those today. Jack, how was your Christmas? How are your New Year's? I obviously know I talk to you every day, but just for the viewers.
My holidays were very good, although I'm not gonna lie, man. When we talked about it a little bit off camera, I've been missing Sweet Life. I needed to get back in the Sweet Life sack, and I'm glad
starting to get a little itch here.
we're
Missed
kicking
all,
off.
missed
Kicking
all
off.
these beautiful, beautiful people that come in and watch us every week.
Absolutely. So I'm
Big
excited.
shout out before we do get started. We had Joe Ortiz. Thanks for being here. We had him in the comments before we even started. And I don't mean to let you down, Joe. It's not a Rasta show. It is us. So if we disappointed, I'm very sorry. But we're happy you're here. I'm happy you're here. Jack, I'm happy you're here.
I'm happy we're all here. I'm happy Joe's here. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy everybody's here.
All right, but yeah, a couple of weeks off. Holidays. We had to get right over the holidays, if you get what I'm saying. As always, before we do jump too much into things, we have to pay respect to those that respect us. Hop on over to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code GETRIGHT for a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. That is promo code GETRIGHT. Because like we say every time, what's better than winning money than free money? And I mean, we rave about these all the time. Jack and I, sadly, we were not the winners of our ring this year. But go over to trophysmack.com. Go get yourself a plaque. Go get yourself a ring. How about a chain? And I'm not even talking about this thing anymore. If you guys have been watching the past couple weeks, you know how I feel about this thing.
You know how we both feel about it. Although,
Yeah.
Cody, I'm going to need you to walk back your words there for a second, brother, because I may have lost in the championship to our friend Corey in our league. But in the J. Crew League, I am a champion this year. I won my first ever fantasy football championship. I am ecstatic. There is a trophy on the way that will be put up on the social media. I will be flexing the trophy.
You have to show that bad boy off.
Oh yeah, I think it is from Trophy Smack as well. So shout out Trophy Smack.
Look at that, Trophy Smack. So that's again, Underdog Fantasy promo code Get Right. Trophy Smack promo code Get Right. Pardon me. Let's get started. I guess before we do jump into the award ceremony or inaugural. Am I saying that right? First ever kickoff. I don't know. Whatever word you want to use. Before we get in, there are two games today. We're not going to get too into them. We'll just kind of give you our picks. Jack and I are in agreement on the picks today, though. We are taking the Chargers over the Texans, and we are taking the Ravens over the Steelers. Jack, is there anything you did want to talk about in these games?
Well, I guess I was going to ask you, and I have my answer, and I'm guessing I know your answer as well, but out of the two games, which one do you think is more likely for there to be an upset? The Steelers against the Ravens or the Texans against the Chargers? Because for whatever reason, I'm pretty confident that the Chargers are going to win this game, but I could see the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, weird. I'm picking the Chargers over the Texans, and being a lower seed, I guess they're the underdogs, and it would be the upset. So I'm more, leaning Chargers over Texans. Although, I wouldn't be surprised if we're all sitting at home tonight at, whatever time the game wraps up, like 11 p.m. and the Steelers do win. I don't think it's probable, but it's possible. Obviously, it's possible. But I don't know. Ravens look good past couple weeks. Steelers don't. Lamar Jackson just finished this year with like the third best QBR rating of all time. So
yeah,
Henry looks good.
Stat line this year. Yeah.
He's like, I know I texted you this. I texted you this, and I also sent out a. Do you still call them tweets? What do you call them now? I know it's called X. I don't know if they're still called tweets. I sent out a post on X, we'll say.
Okay.
Earlier in the week too. It hasn't come to fruition and hasn't been announced, but I did say Justin Fields would be announced star this week. Still got some time. Maybe it happens. Maybe it comes out today. But you've been wrong there. I really thought it was coming.
I think that if Pittsburgh throws Justin Fields out there, it's going to be.
He may not start.
It's going to be a Buffalo
I
chicken
wouldn't be surprised if we saw him out there a little bit,
Oh, well, they throw him in there on weird packages and stuff. Quarterback.
No, I'm not talking about weird packages like Russell Wilson for the first, say quarter and a half, playing very bad. Offense kicking the ball moving. I could see it.
I don't know, man. I'm pulling for Lamar though. I am a closeted, sometimes uncloseted Lamar Jackson fan. Ravens are sort of my AFC team if I had to choose one, and the poor guy has just not been able to really perform in the playoffs. Obviously last year, had a little run. Really should have beat the Chiefs. Some weird plays by Flowers and communication with Flowers and Lamar. You can't lose in the first round this year. I think they got to beat Pittsburgh. It's a divisional game, which is always tough, but they have to win.
Yeah, man. I think
there's no excuse.
They handle them pretty well. It's just one of those things like, division playoff games could go either way.
It's tough.
Before we do get into our award ceremony, I guess we should give a little shout out, Jake the Steak. If we had a number one fan award, Jake, just know that you won it. All right.
Yeah. I was hyping it up. I saw him last night. And we watched the Texas game together at our buddy Eric's, and yes, the super fan, the super Sweet Life super fan of the year.
Have to get him like a little his
would have to go
here
to Mr. Snake. Yeah, a graphic or a little trophy or something. But
Joe said same here. Won my first chip in the Get Right Left.
Go Joe.
Hey,
here we go.
First of many, I'm sure, Joe. I hope I hope us here and the guys over at Get Right. I hope we played a part in that. Our advice week to week. I know Mike and Rasta and all those guys do a great job.
Yes, sir.
It's the big King Henry game. Yeah, I imagine so too. I mean, Steelers defense is good. But I imagine Ravens handling them pretty well. And the Steelers as a whole, the past couple weeks have kind of gone up, haven't played well. The offense seems stagnant. The defense hasn't even the Steelers defense was good for the first 3/4 of the season, and the past couple weeks just haven't been playing good at all.
I was sort of side question though. You're welcome, Snake. You're welcome, brother Snake. Thank you for being a fan of the show.
You have to keep up the good work. Maybe, this time next year, maybe there's some people that'll give you a run for your money.
Ooh,
we're gonna see.
Yeah. We got a whole year of rebuild now. We're like the Panthers. We're not that we're in a rebuild, but we're building. We're building.
Yeah.
You're basically Andy Dalton, and I'm Bryce Young. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Damn.
Or do you want to be Bryce Young?
Hey, Joe,
would you rather be Bryce Young? Because I'll be Andy Dalton. I'll gladly.
It don't matter, man. I mean, we have Andy Dalton Day. That'll be coming up in September.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that one. No, we're a little bit away, but we're into the new year now, so we're only about 8.5 months away from that. All right, I guess, Jack, why don't we jump into it? The first ever Sweet Life Awards ceremony. We'll announce the awards as they go. Like I said, we're not going to talk, your MVP, your offensive player. These are kind of awards Jack and I got together and kind of sat down and picked.
Would you like to read each of the possible titles that we have to hand out today?
Do you want to read the awards off now, or do you want to go? Yeah, let's read them off now. So we have
just the titles.
We have 7, right? 7. We have 7 awards to give out today in total. Our first one will be the Man in the Trenches Award. We're going to award this to, either the offensive lineman we think was the best or our favorite offensive lineman, really whatever we decide, just because we feel like they don't get enough love. We have the Special Teams Special Players Award going to the best kicker. We have the Gone Fishing Award, kind of a player opposite of Comeback Player of the Year, a guy who had a good year last year and, did nothing this year.
Kind of, yeah.
We have the biggest we have the biggest edge award. This will go to a guy that we thought would have a big year, but may have disappointed. We have the Who's This Dude award. I think opposite of that one. This is a guy that we didn't really think was going to do anything, maybe didn't even know of before the year, and then turned out to have a really good year. Was a big part of their team success. We have this one. This might be our most controversial award here, but we have the Antonio Brown Cracker of the Year award. What this award will go to is the best white skill positioned or secondary player. And then we have the Sweet Life Man of the Year award. This is an award that we'll give out to anybody for any reason whatsoever that we deem that we want to give it to. There's really no criteria for that other than just who we want to pick. And with that being said, I guess we'll get this kicked off. Jack, you want to take the first one? Who was your Man in the Trenches award winner this year?
My Man in the Trenches for the 2025 Sweet Life Awards is going to go to my man, Big Dick Lane Johnson from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I have some interesting stats for when you're done, because I don't know if you want us to each go and say our piece.
No, go ahead. You can say your piece. I figure we'll go say piece, and then I can go say piece.
Okay. Well, I do have some insider information. I know what's inside your card for your award. So there are some stats that I will wait to say until you mention your award, but Lane Johnson kind of just randomly got snubbed from the Pro Bowl votes this year, or All Pro. There's like the Pro Bowl, and then there's
Pro Bowl and All Pro, yeah,
and then there's All Pro, yeah. And I mean, I think that this thing happens a lot. I don't know if you're super into the like draft process in the off season and like draft prospects. There's this thing called prospect fatigue, where, for example, who's like a really big prospect in this draft?
Ashton
Jeanty. Let's say that, these guys are watching his tape all year. They're doing mock drafts with him all year. And you start to get a little bit fatigued just talking about him and how, his hype and everything. And you kind of just start to forget about it a little bit. Like you almost get sick of it. And so by the time, you're doing your mock drafts or the actual draft comes, not that you're sick of him, but you kind of really forget about how truly good he was. And I think that Lane Johnson is kind of suffering from veteran fatigue because he is so old. I think the man might be going into his 30s. He might be 37 years old. I don't even know what season he's playing on right now, but I think people will kind of just, oh yeah, Lane Johnson, yeah, he's good. You know what I mean? Like, but people kind of forget to see.
They forget how good he really is.
And he's 34, by the way. And I have some stats here that I'm going to pull out as sort of an Uno reverse card after you say yours. Not to poop on yours.
And you could Uno reverse me. I'm not going to stand up for this guy by any means and anything. But I went with Penei Sewell here.
Great player.
Penei Sewell. Reason, he was PFF's 5th overall, I think, offensive lineman or tackle.
Yeah, he's a tackle. Yeah,
tackle, both left, including left and right tackles. He's the 5th overall. Led 1 sack all year. He's the best offensive lineman on, in my opinion, the best offense in the league. And one of the main reasons I kind of gave it to him is he had 2 running backs that went over 1,000 scrimmage yards this year. And he had 2 receivers that went over 1,000 yards this year. And you don't get that if you don't have a good line. And, being the best offensive lineman on the best offense, maybe the best offensive line, I feel like that's just kind of where I went. Like I said, if you have some stats and stuff to go against that, I'm not gonna argue too hard, but
this is where
kind of why I picked Mr. Sewell for my Man in the Trenches award
This
this
is
year.
one of the few picks where my Eagles bias will show, only because I feel like
Oh, don't worry. One of mine has I have a Green
okay,
Bay bias in
okay,
one of mine, so don't worry.
there might be a Green Bay Packer player in mine as well. Oh, you you two had a sneak peek at my list, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, I did.
We won't
Well,
spoil it for the
we saw each
viewers.
other's list, so
We won't spoil it for the viewers. Also, if you're
I don't
here,
know who you're talking about.
I don't know how many people we got watching, but throw your 2 cents in the comments for who you think each of these award winners should be for tackle or
Yeah,
cracker
throw
of the year
some
that we have
winners you
coming up
think,
for
or
all the awards we have coming up. Just feel free to throw your 2 cents in the pot. But
yeah, 32 cents in, or if there's like an award category you want to see for next year, throw it in there.
yes, sir. But I have some interesting stats here that Lane Johnson actually has hung up over his locker because he got snubbed from the All-Pro votes, although Penei Sewell did not. And this was a tweet by Zach Berman who found this and put the picture up on X. Penei Sewell has only allowed 1 sack, but Lane Johnson has 0. Penei Sewell has only allowed 5 quarterback hits, but Lane has only allowed 1.
I feel like I shouldn't have sent you my list because I feel like
this is the only one that I have.
now I feel like it is a targeted attack.
No. I promise. I promise you. And I actually, I saw this. Like I was not looking for this. This came up in my feed, and I was like, "Oh boy, I'll get Cody with one." But this is the only one that I have one like this. I promise.
I mean, you could have this one.
Arguably the most important stat, in my opinion, for offensive tackle is quarterback hurries and quarterback pressures. Penei Sewell still had a really solid 22 hurries allowed and 28 pressures. But Lane Johnson only had 9 hurries and 10 pressures. Their pass block win rate is essentially the same. Lane Johnson's is 3% higher, but they're both, it's 91 and 94. So it's just, you're splitting hairs at that point.
I mean, I'd be curious to know, I guess, I guess I will chirp back. Penei Sewell did play the second most snaps as an offensive lineman.
Okay.
At 1,144. I'd be curious to see where that does rank to Lane Johnson. Because, yeah, maybe he only did allow, say, 9 hurries. But in how many less snaps?
Looks like Lane Johnson played. He's ranked 28th in snaps played with 937.
Okay.
So
I mean, you got to think
good
almost,
amount.
200 more snaps.
Yeah, true.
I don't know why we're arguing. Who cares?
We're just putting our 2 cents in the pot.
Yeah,
but it's funny because right now, if you go and Google Penei Sewell, you know how if you Google something, there's the See Also tab. Like it says like, oh, like you could also.
Oh, yeah.
It says Google Penei Sewell. It says See Also Lane Johnson. If you Google Lane Johnson, it says See Also Penei Sewell. So our minds are in the right place.
Yeah, we're right there.
We're both right there.
I was talking to a couple of my buddies and my friend Craig, who, of course, he wants to pick this guy because he's a Chiefs fan. But Joe Tooney, he said, should get some recognition, which I agree.
Sure.
Played left guard for most of the season, went over to left tackle, played well at both spots. I also want to give a little shout out to a guy I don't think, and here comes Packer bias. I wasn't planning on saying this guy's name, but Zach Tom, right tackle for the Packers. I think he was ranked, I'd have to look it up, but I think he was ranked like the number 1 right tackle on PFF.
Yeah, I was also thinking to our bias here. Mekhi Becton was signed by the Eagles to kind of come in and out as like a right guard whenever necessary. But Mekhi Becton has had a very, very rough career in terms of injuries. He can seemingly not stay healthy for more than half of a season. And as a rotational guy, he was able to come in and do the job at guard and just contribute here and there. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think your draft pick, who the offensive lineman from Arizona, Jordan Morgan, who people thought was kind of underwhelming, has seemingly played okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I was way off, by the way. Zach Tom was he was 7th among all right tackles.
okay.
I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe he was like one of few right tackles that allowed like a sack or less all year or something. There was some stat on Zach Tom that I clearly not remembering right now.
Mm.
But however, so there we are. Jack's first ever Man of the Trenches award goes to Lane Johnson. Mine goes to Penny Sewell.
Two good picks. Two very good picks.
You guys could duke it out in the comments to see who picked the real winner, or like we said, throw in your winners.
Mm-hmm.
But we shall move on to the
next
special
award.
teams, special players award winner. So you said yours first, last. I guess I can go first.
Absolutely.
This round, and I'm going to go back to my page here, which I totally lost. But mine's Chris Boswell for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can make the argument that he single-handedly won Pittsburgh more than a handful of games. He went 41 of 44 this year on field goals, which is a 93.2%. 57 was his long. And his only misses came for more than 40. He was perfect on extra points. So to me, he was the best kicker this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have been able to win games solely through that man. If he's not on the Steelers, then Pittsburgh probably loses 4 games. Like, it's insane. All they have to do is get in the field goal range. Mike Tomlin does not mind kicking field goals at all because he knows that Boswell can make them and usually win them some games. Obviously, that's not, Boswell doesn't play defense, which is the other very big factor as to why Pittsburgh is winning games. They allow the defense to do the talking, but when it comes to offense, that's the guy. I mean, like, if I'm a Steelers fan, I kind of want a Boswell jersey more than a Russell Wilson jersey.
You can make the argument outside of, maybe say TJ Watt or guys like that Chris Boswell's probably one of the top 3 most important players on the roster. Top 5 easily.
For Pittsburgh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Especially in terms of just recognizability and like a player that you like on the team. Like you have Watt. Obviously,
you can say like maybe Joey Porter, their corner. He's very good.
George
I know
Pickens.
Cam Hayward had a good year. People probably say him. But I mean, outside of those guys, maybe Minka Fitzpatrick, George Pickens. I wouldn't even say George Pickens. I don't think.
I think George is kind of cool, but in terms of
cool, but is he more important to the Steelers than Chris Boswell?
Right. Yeah, that's tough. That's an interesting conversation.
It is.
But you went Chris Boswell.
Yes, I did.
And as much as it pains me to say as an Eagles fan, my 2025 Sweet Life Award for Special Teams Special Plays goes to the Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey. This guy scored the most points out of any fantasy player this year as a kicker.
Yeah.
His stat line in terms of accuracy, I believe, does not touch Boswell's.
I have it up. It's 85.1. It's not bad.
Only because this man can literally hit 65-yard field goals. So if they get kind of close enough, they'll put him out there to at least have a shot. And obviously, you're not going to make a 65-yarder every single time, but they throw him out there and he gets pretty damn close and usually scares the shit out of me as an Eagles fan. You know what I mean? Thankfully this year, haven't had to worry too much about the Cowboys, but Brandon Aubrey is a phenomenal player and he's gonna, I can only imagine, be on that Cowboys team for as long as he could kick field goals like that. It's just remarkable when a kicker could lead fantasy teams.
Sure.
So I had to give him a little bit of a shout out. As much as it pains me, I had to
I
I'm a
mean,
man at the end of the day. I could
sure.
I could recognize greatness.
Respect where respect is, give respect where it's deserved. I understand that. But yeah, I
100%.
mean, if you play in fantasy leagues, where, you have a kicker, he probably won you some weeks.
And Boswell the same too. I remember Boswell
Oh,
putting up
sure.
some stupid numbers in weeks, like not even having to start flexes or anything after he plays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember someone dropped him in our league one week when he was on a bye, and I was like, he's going to be my number one waiver priority, I think. And then I think
Understandably
that
so.
following week he scored like 24, and I was like, whoever dropped him, like, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. So there we go. One more time again. Chris Boswell wins my first special team special player award. Braden Aubrey gets yours, Jack. Now we'll pivot to our Gone Fishing Award. And to reiterate again, this is the one where, player had a very good year last year. Expectations were to have a similar year this year. However, they did not, or just completely fell off the earth. So, Jack, your Gone Fishing Award winner is.
Well, I'm gonna preface really quick, not to edge anybody.
That's the
But
next
that's
award.
the next award. I sent you my list. I did a switcheroo. I switched my
Okay.
Gone Fishing Award and the Biggest Edge Award because they're very kind of similar awards, but
You just like switch the players?
I switched the players.
Okay.
Because they're similar awards in terms of what they are. I think that the biggest, the Gone Fishing Award is kind of like
I feel like so. My thought
someone
process, Gone
someone
Fishing
was
is
already
more
on top of the world and then they crumbled. Whereas Biggest Edge is like there's just a lot of hype around it, or there's just a lot of projecting.
Yeah,
And
I feel like the Biggest Edge Award could have been more like individual, like guys, like there could have been like a guy I was super high on that you were just like meh about, you know what I mean? Whereas like the Gone Fishing, it's like a universal. Yeah, this guy had a terrible year.
Yes. Okay.
That's kind of how I pictured it.
Okay. Well, I'll give you my interpretation.
All right.
Yeah,
it's the first one. We can play around with it.
2025 Sweet Life Gone Fishing Award from Jack. Kind of a weird one here is going to go to Marvin Harrison Jr. Gone Fishing, Marvin Harrison Jr. This is a weird one because obviously he wasn't in the NFL last year, right? But played at Ohio State, has the Hall of Fame name, and he was drafted 4th overall. I don't want to keep bringing up fantasy every single time we talk about these awards, but I think they're a good show. They're a good example of how these players performed and how these players were projected, especially because I don't know about you, if you played any Underdog fantasy drafts or if even in any of the regular redraft leagues you were in, Marvin Harrison, his ADP was like ass end, like right at the beginning of the second round. Yeah, like sometimes you'd go like really in like the beginning of the second round, like middle of the second round, like depends on who you're playing with, obviously, but especially on Underdog. On Underdog, his ADP was like the last pick of the first round. So if you wanted him, you kind of had to take that shot. People were really projecting this, including myself, to be the
me too. He was my preseason Rook of the Year, so
yeah, yes. Throwback to episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Life episode 1. Go check that one out.
So far.
Yeah. This was kind of meant to be the old D-Hop connection that Kyler Murray had when they went on the undefeated run. They went like 7-0 or 9-0 and just this insane connection. And I don't think that this is totally Marvin's fault. The man still managed to finish as the 26th ranked wide receiver in fantasy, put up over 880 yards and catch 8 touchdowns, which is, it's his rookie year. That's pretty solid for a rookie year. But I think just he has to build that chemistry still with Kyler. I think it's just going to take a little bit longer than anticipated. He's not quite as explosive as we may have thought, or at least in this year one coming out of Ohio State. So kind of just was a little bit of a letdown for me. And it really felt like in terms of someone who would be gone fishing, like he just really he wasn't around. This man was
Sure.
not home. He had the sign
Did
up,
you
and
did
he
you
was.
see like the graphic though of his rookie season and then his dad's rookie season? Like the numbers are like so similar. I wonder if I can get it pulled up here real quick.
Oh boy,
Um,
I did not. Although, again, and I'm not
like it's
bashing
literally
the
their
guy.
numbers are like identical.
Yeah, I mean it's it's your rookie year. You can't. I'm not writing him off. I'm not saying whatever, but in terms
Let me
of
see if I can find
the
it here.
gone fishing award of someone who should
Yeah,
have
here.
been at least pretty solid and just disappeared. I mean, this guy, he wanted a little bit more.
Just right real quick. I know we're getting a little off topic. Well, not off topic, but a little tangent. So Marvin Harrison Sr., his rookie year had 64 receptions. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 62. Marvin Harrison Sr. had 836 receiving yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 885, and they both had 8 touchdowns.
Wow.
So it's crazy how close they both were their rookie year as far as stats go.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw that the other
Also,
day, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
fortunately for his father, he played with a guy named Peyton Manning.
Hey,
Where
I also saw something. There's a quarterback coming out in the draft next year with a similar last name.
oh my God. Well, if he declares, but yeah, he
Could
could.
it happen?
He could come
It
out.
could happen.
That would be insane.
It
That would be insane. I mean,
could happen.
I'm not gonna lie, man, and I don't want to get out too much on a tangent here, but if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan, if I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan, I'm getting sick of Kyler. I'm getting real sick of him, and the sun's getting real low. Sun's getting real low for Kyler
After
Murray.
October, you just can't trust him. He's time and time again, like second half of season, he just disappears.
And
It's been this was his what fifth season, and he's been to the playoff one time. And the one time he did go to the playoffs, he had maybe one of the worst playoff performances ever. So you're clearly not going to win with him. So I think it's time to maybe see what else is out there.
hey, who knows, man? Draft's coming up.
Draft's coming
Draft's
up.
coming up.
I mean, they'll ride with him one more year. I think they paid him all that money a couple of years ago.
Probably.
My Gone Fishing Award, kind of an easy one. Took an easy, the cheap way out here. I took Christian McCaffrey here.
Yeah.
Had a great season last year. Took his team, to the Super Bowl. And then, not necessarily his fault. He disappeared this year, injuries, whatnot.
Yeah.
But a man who was drafted as the consensus 101 in fantasy to bring up fantasy again, played a game and a half, and that's all you got out of him. So yeah, that's my
Yeah. I was
award.
gonna double dip with you, but I opted to not shoot for Christian McCaffrey with this award only because I kind of felt bad. Like it's not like it was out of his own doing. You know what I mean? Like he kind of got just dealt a bad hand with injuries. Although, regardless, injury or not, this man had to sign up and he was at the lake cracking some beers, going fishing. So
yeah, I mean another honorable mention here, and I'll shout out Pat, if you're watching, I'm not sure, but he brought up a good point that Hassan Reddick could have easily won this one.
Oh yeah,
because he quite literally just went fishing. He basically said, "Yeah, no, I'm just not going to play."
Yeah.
So that was a good point by that one, I thought.
100%.
All right, so those are the Gone Fishing Awards. One more time, I picked Chris McCaffrey, and Jacko picked Marvin Harrison Jr. Moving on to the biggest edge, a player we thought would Tyreek Hill. That's not a bad pick there. Snake, you might be jumping the gun here a minute. Not to tease anything, but the biggest edge, a guy that we thought would have a good year, maybe improve on their season a year ago, but didn't, or maybe disappointed. And my honors for the biggest edge of the year award 2025 or 2024, whatever you want to consider it,
2025
goes to Jaden Reed, wide receiver,
baby.
Packers. I know I'm not the only Packer fan who thought this going into the year that I won't talk on all of us, but I thought was going to really make that jump to be the true number one receiver there in Green Bay, which, didn't happen. He regressed on just about every statistical category outside of yards, to go along with 9 drops on the year. Just did not have the season I envisioned. He went from 94 targets last year to 75 this year. And keep in mind, this is all, you got Josh Jacobs. So does that play a factor in the reduced targets? Possibly. But as far as receiving core go, it's the same receiving core of last year. So you saw about 20 less targets. He went from 64 catches last year to 55 this year. So he regressed there. Like I said, he did get more yards, about 60 more yards this year. But he scored 2 less receiving touchdowns and had one. He actually had 1 more rushing touchdown this year. But on less attempts and less yards there too. He just, outside of yards, he really did regress on almost every statistical category without much changes on offense. Like I said, outside of the Josh Jacobs signing, a guy I had super, super high hopes on going into the year, just let me down a little bit.
He was ass. You could say it, Cody. He was ass.
He wasn't ass. However, he just wasn't.
In the beginning of the year, he put up for week 1 or week 2.
Week 1, man,
26 points.
Week 1, he made me look like I was a genius, saying "I told you so" to everyone. This was the guy, and then ever since that week, just kind of, just wasn't there.
Well, Cody,
completely disappeared that game against Detroit. The first game against Detroit totally disappeared. Just no catches, no yards. Just wasn't even in the stat sheet. I had such high hopes for him going into the year, and it just didn't pan out. Maybe third year, maybe he pulls a Nico Collins in the third year is the year he really breaks out, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, Nico Collins' third year, he also had Stroud. His first year, first and second year. I don't think he had Stroud either of those years. But
his second year, I know it was the year with like Davis Mills or whoever.
So there you go with that
his first year, I don't remember whose quarterback was his first year.
But
was it Watson?
It might have been Watson, and then that might have been the year that they lost Watson. Actually, I can't remember, but
I don't remember either.
I will say that Packers bias aside, I was someone who, since doing fantasy football, since playing fantasy football, I should say, I do a ranking for myself at the beginning of every year. It's kind of just something to go off of when I'm doing my drafts and everything, and I projected Jaden Reed to, like you said, this is going to be his offense now. Like, he's going to be the number one. And I just liked his athleticism out of the other wide receivers he have there against Dubes. And obviously Watson is kind of like that field stretcher. I still like Christian Watson, although he's a little injury prone. So that kind of knocked him down. And, this just seemed like they could run the offense through this guy, almost like a Debo, not quite as much of that bruiser rushing ability, but like RPOs, little passes, little whatever. And they kind of were using him like that. And even when he underperformed, they tried to use him like that, and he just couldn't really live up to the standards that they probably had hoped for.
I mean, if you want a little insight of how much hype I had for this guy, I really thought, like, I'm not going to say Tyreek Hill productivity or anything like that, but I really thought Green Bay could have really used him in a Tyreek Hill sort of, way, real speedy guy, run him over the middle, get him a quick slant, let him run, send him downfield every now and then, just really let him show off his speed and his abilities. And just, I don't know whether it's him. I don't know whether it's the offense. I really don't know.
Well, I have a quick question for you, not to digress, and some of the stuff we could actually get in the form of future content, perhaps, with draft stuff. But seeing how Reed underperformed pretty heavily this year, you hear a lot of talking heads say that Green Bay doesn't have that true X wide receiver yet. There's a lot of people projecting them to go wide receiver, if not in the first round, at least like higher than they typically do. I don't think Green Bay has drafted a wide receiver in the first round ever. Is that?
Nope. The only skill position they drafted first round, I think, was a tight end back in
There you go.
2000s.
So does seeing this underperformance make you lean any tight? Because I know that you were of the belief that you guys do not need any help at wide receiver. You have enough depth.
Going into the year, I was very on the belief that, look at how well this team performed last year with their young group of receivers. Like I said, I just went on a little tangent of how high I was on Reed. Really thought he was going to take the helms there. So I really didn't want to bring in a veteran or anything going into this season. However, I 180'd here. And after watching the same group of receivers this year, all sort of digress, every single one of them. Outside of one guy, I'm not going to drop his name because I know you picked him for an award, so I won't say anything yet. But really, everyone outside of him, did digress. So now going into this offseason, well, once we are into the offseason, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Once
Jack.
we go into the post.
But once we're there, yeah. I don't think I necessarily want them to draft another young guy. I think I would be more in
free agency
the bus of go get a veteran.
Okay.
Go get T. Higgins. Do it. Why not? Go get Chris Godwin. I know he's coming off injury, but go get him. Go get Devontae Adams. Why not? Just go get, just go get a dog.
Go get a dog.
Clearly need one. And outside of, maybe 2-3 dudes in this draft, you're not going to get it in the draft. Like, there could always be a Puka Nacua in this draft. Who knows?
Puka Nacua.
But outside of your top 3 receiver prospects this draft, I'm not crazy about.
Emeka Egbuka.
Isaiah
Bond.
Yeah, Isaiah Bond. I'm really big on the T-Mac Arizona.
I'm really big at
but
T-Mac.
Obviously, you're not going to get him unless you trade up. Abuka, you're probably not getting unless you trade up either. Luther Burden, you're probably not going to trade up and get either. So those are the 3 guys. Those are the 3 guys I like. There's Travis Hunter too, but there's speculation on what side of the ball is he going to play on, how often he's going to play on each side of the ball. So
Mizzou kind of uses Luther Burden the way that I think LaFleur wants to be able to use Jayden Reed, which is kind of funny. Like I feel like Luther Burden, in theory at least, you will see what happens when he gets on the NFL gridiron, but in college he performs like the next evolution of a Jayden Reed, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Debo,
so I'm more, like I would even mind like picture scenario where Tyreek Hill says, "Hey, I'm out in Miami. Why don't we go trade say a Christian Watson or our guy Dustin Wicks, or say, hey, here's Dobbs and a few picks, or here's Watson a few picks. Go get Tyreek Hill, bring him in. Why not? Go sign T. Higgins, free agent there. Go get Devontae Adams, bring him back.
Yeah.
I would unless we are there at pick 20, whatever we're going to end up with, and say Luther Burden is sitting there or Emeka Egbuka somehow is still there, then yeah, sure, go get him. But I don't envision any of those guys being available when Green Bay is ready to pick. So I'm more or less let's just go get a guy with the proven talent. Let's just go get our guy.
Right.
We need one.
Yeah. We could, maybe the form of some future content, hint, perhaps, maybe. Do some draft stuff. We could talk about that in the future. But just a quick question I had for you, because Jayden Reed was not particularly good this year. And that's why he won your award for the Edge Award.
Edge.
And
Yes.
my Edge Award, Snake may or may not have correctly predicted, is going to Tyreek Hill for me. Tyreek Hill was taken top 5 in probably every single draft, every single fantasy draft this year, Underdog draft, fantasy draft, and The man at this point now only has one more touchdown than children he birthed this year, which was 5. He has 6 touchdowns now, but he was really close. That last game of the season,
What a run.
he was really close to tying his stats with the children that he gave birth to this year. So, well, not that he gave birth to them. He is a man.
He planted the seed.
He planted the seed, and they came out of the seed this year. So, he is trying to put up some Phillip Rivers type numbers when it comes to children, but Tyreek, man,
you gotta be close.
Tyreek, it's just been an underwhelming year for Mr. Reek the Freak here. I think this is actually his lowest production year since 2019, in terms of like if you average out his stats, touchdowns and yards and receptions. Let me just pull this up really quick. I'm pretty sure this is the first year that he, in the past 3 years, where he hasn't had 1,000-yard season. Yeah, let me see here. Just bear with me here, brother.
We'll bear with you, brother.
So, oh, I lost it.
Well, while you're looking, we kind of can't put all the blame on him. You know, Tua missed a good portion of the year, so.
Oh yeah.
But he definitely, like I said, with McCaffrey, his injuries, he was kind of gone. But yeah, I mean, can't blame him. But still, a guy who, like you said, drafted in top 5 of most fantasy leagues, a lot of expectations and hype going into the year, just didn't pan out. Whoever's fault it is, but
fell short, unfortunately, this year, man. It just wasn't good. It just wasn't good, especially if you drafted him. I think, funny enough, Snake actually, I can't remember. I could be wrong. I don't want to throw him under the bus. I think he traded for him, which was unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
And just been a tough go about for Tyreek. There's whispers now he wants to get out of Miami, but then,
he's welcome in Green Bay anytime.
Yeah. Snake said he did and was proud of it. Yeah, I mean, at the time, you think you're getting a steal. I mean, Tyreek he's a historic player. I think last year he was actually voted by players as the number 1 ranked wide receiver, which I thought low-key was a little bit crazy after, the production Jettis had too last year. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it was just more of like a longevity thing at that point. Like, yeah, Justin Jefferson had 2 or 3 good years, but Tyreek Hill had, 6, 7, 8, whatever time the voting came in.
I guess, but
that's all I could think of.
Anyway, Tyreek Hill edged me is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one that got edged by him. Like we said, rough season for Tyreek Hill. Want to forget about, like I said, he's welcome in Green Bay if he wants to come on over, rejuvenate that career of his.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you ready to move on to the next one?
Absolutely. Next one, we have the Who's This Dude Award. Again, it's a guy that going into the year, we either had no expectations for, maybe didn't even know who the hell they were. And now we're looking back like, damn, great year. Helped his team maybe get to the playoffs. Who knows? Jack, your Who's This Dude Award.
My Who's This Dude Award for 2025 is going to go to a man you know and love, Mr. Tucker Kraft. Who the hell is Tucker Kraft is what I said a couple times when watching football on Sundays. I mean, I always thought that the number 1 tight end for Green Bay, over the past year at least, was Musgraves. I thought that Musgraves was just the guy, kind of that vertical tight end. You know what I mean? He's got a little bit of speed to him. Pretty good in terms of a receiver. Not think of tight end. It's very hard to get that all encapsulating George Kittle, where he's just as good of a blocker as he is a vertical threat. You get guys like a Kelsey, who I know you love, Travis Kelsey. I'm being facetious for the listeners. Cody does not love Travis Kelce, and I have been hating him more and more as these Chiefs' reign of victory goes on. But I'm digressing now. Basically, Kelsey's he's not a great blocker, just a vertical guy. You know what I mean? And there's guys across the league whose names we just don't know who are less vertical threats who are solely blocking tight ends because no one really cares, unfortunately, about blocking as much as they do catching touchdowns. And that's just the way the world works. But basically, Musgraves is this, hey, good tight end, whatever. And then gets injured this year. And who has to step up to bat? This little unknown man. Dog named Tucker Kraft. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, he's got big pads on. He's got like a elbow brace. I'm like, he's like a big built dude. I'm like, all right, this is just like some like backup tight end. Like he's gonna come in. He's gonna come in on blocking downs, whatever. And they used him the exact same way that they use Musgraves. He just knows how to get open. He's not particularly fast. He's not particularly, shifty in any way. White guy, sneaky, athletic, but he just gets open and he'll stiff arm a dude. He'll put his shoulder down and, is he creating, some of the greatest highlight reels of all time? No, but the man gets first downs. Like
he hurdled a man before.
Hurdled a man this season.
Hurdled a man.
And was a more than reliable fantasy start for anybody that was just happened to have him sitting on your bench one day. So I
think personally, obviously he's not to the level of George Kittle, but I think he plays a lot like him, like play style wise.
Yeah.
Go out there, catch a few passes, hit who he has to hit, get hit, but he's getting right back up. And like George Kittle, it seems like the harder they get hit, the more energized they get.
He's a tough
SOB. I think Luke Musgraves has lost his starting tight end job there.
Oh, you think it's done now?
Tucker Kraft's the number one going forward, easy. I mean, you didn't even see it after Musgraves came back. They were drawing more plays, and Kraft was still getting more targets.
Yeah, man, he had a damn good year. He had over 10 fantasy points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Only 7 weeks. But then week 5, 24 points. Week 4, 17 points. And even when he's not scoring over 10, he's getting 7. He's getting 7. If a tight end can get you at least 7 points every week in fantasy, I mean, that's a keeper. That's a keeper. So shout out to Tucker Kraft. I didn't know who the hell he was before this year. It's his second year in the league.
But now you do.
But now I do, and now
you do.
To Tucker. Yeah.
You can't cuck the tuck.
No, you can't.
All right. Well, your Who's This Dude award goes to Tucker Kraft. And the honors for mine, I'm going to go Bucky Irving.
Nice.
A guy who, as when we talk fantasy, probably went undrafted in a majority of leagues. Or if you did get drafted, you're probably looking very late rounds. Guy who,
the end of the draft.
Me personally, I just kind of thought, they drafted him, but they still have Rachaad White. Rachaad White's still going to be the guy. This Bucky Irving dude's come in, get a couple carries a game, just kind of get Rachaad White off the field for a few snaps. But no, I was wrong. He finished with over 1,500 scrimmage yards and 8 touchdowns, and kind of helped the Buccaneers get into the playoffs. And I'll be honest, he went from a guy that I barely even knew going into the season to probably one of my favorite players in the league now.
Bucky plays on the Bucks.
You can't write it, but you also can't cuck the buck.
No.
So,
no, you cannot.
So yeah,
boys, tuck and buck.
Yeah, I mean he surprised me, I'm sure, with a lot of others. So Bucky Irving, congratulations, you are my Who's This Dude award winner.
Absolutely, man. Shout out Bucky Irving. I like Bucky Irving at Oregon. There's a lot of haters speaking about the talking heads when it comes to the offseason and the draft season, there was a lot of talking heads. Bucky's undersized, Bucky this, Bucky that, and I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, he's a great receiving threat. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's a little bit smaller than your average, bruiser back, but I mean, that's not what he is. He's shifty. He's almost like a,
it's fun to watch.
It feels like everyone compares running backs to Alvin Kamara that catch the ball out of the draft, but I mean, he is Kamara-esque in terms of not only his catchability, but Kamara is not the type of guy that will truck someone. He doesn't lower his shoulder and typically, I should say, sure, you could pull up videos of him trucking someone, but he typically is not that stiff arm truck type of running back. But for whatever reason, he doesn't have to, because it's like he coated himself with baby oil, no diddy, before the game, and people just slide off of him. And that's the same way with Bucky. He's not this bruising guy, but people just can't tackle the man for some reason.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that any given play, he'll break off a 30, 40-yard play, and next thing you know, he's in the end zone. And yeah, I don't know. He was just so fun to watch for me this year, and
he's awesome.
He really he made a fan out of me, we'll say.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the Eagles don't play him in the playoffs. As an Eagles fan,
could be because I picked him up, in our fantasy league too, and I had him as pick up in a couple leagues. And
that definitely doesn't hurt.
Helped me out some weeks, so maybe that's part of the reason. But no, yeah, Bucky Irving, yeah. All right, going on to our, like I said, maybe most controversial award here. We'll see. We have the Antonio Brown Cracker of the Year award. Like we said, this goes to the best and or our favorite white skill positioned or secondary player. My award, could I have given it to Cooper DeJean? Sure. Could I have given it to Ladd McConkey? Sure. However, I decided to give it to a man who did the first thing, something that hasn't been done in 22 years. My Cracker of the Year, Broncos cornerback Riley Moss. The first interception by a white cornerback in 22 years. It has to be acknowledged. It has to be awarded. Riley Moss, you are my Antonio Brown Cracker of the Year.
It's a great pick. I forgot about Riley Moss. Not gonna lie.
First man to do it in 22 years. I feel like just with that, it has to be recognized. So,
yeah, that's actually insane. I didn't know that Riley Moss was. Wow.
Yeah, first white cornerback with an interception in 22 years.
And it's funny. He played at Iowa, and there might be another Iowa player who will be getting this award from your pal Jacko here, because my Cracker of the Year award, inspired by Mr. Antonio Brown himself, is going to go to Cooper DeJean, baby. Another starting white corner in the NFL, both from
Iowa.
Iowa.
Running up with mine.
Yeah, I do, I do have to give you some credit though. I had the stats.
White man. He's an exciting white.
I had the stats. He's an exciting white. Reed Blankenship was also in my thoughts there for that one. Guys like Harrison Smith too. Although kind of a little bit of a down year, I believe, for Harrison. Don't quote me on that, but it seemed like a little bit more quiet.
Also, some recognition for this one too. I think Ricky Pearsall deserves an honorable mention here.
Oh yeah,
Two got shot, and
two got shot
more than Chris McCaffrey. So
Cooper Kupp came back from his injury.
Cooper Kupp, sure, but Cooper Kupp, everyone just knows him as being,
But I digress. I pulled up the stats for the Lane Johnson Penei Sewell pick and kind of got you there. I think you did get me a little bit. It's hard to argue with the first interception by a starting white cornerback. Cooper DeJean does not have an interception. However, 51 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 6 passes defended, and those are pretty solid stats for a rookie corner / safety. Kind of goes back and forth wherever they need him. But I think it's the specific plays. I think back to the Bengals game. The Eagles have a significantly less chance of winning that game if they do not stop the Bengals on 4th down when they have to get it. And what do? They send Jamar Chase in motion. And out of all the athletes that Philly has on defense, you have a CJ Gardner-Johnson.
He's one on him.
They decide to put Coop on him. Coop goes on. They could have put Quinion on him.
Sure.
The black quarterback from Toledo, who was drafted higher than Coop. He was drafted higher than him. It took him in the 1st round. They could have put him on him. No. Quinion was somewhere else. They wanted Coop on Jamar, and Jamar comes running behind the line of scrimmage, almost like a jet sweep.
Mm.
But it's on a screen, and the whole time that he's running, who is tracking him step for step? The milkman, Cooper DeJean. And I don't think Joe was ready, because Joe saw the milk check, and I think he was just going to throw it either way, because as soon as the ball was snapped, he hits Jamar, and not 3 yards away from him is Coop. Boom! Takes him down, and I think just to be able to make plays like that and keep up with athletes like Jamar Chase, who's arguably a top 3 wide receiver in the league, if you don't want to put him at 1 or 2, that was big. And I got a little bit of my Eagles bias, of course, but I wanted to go Coop. I completely get the Moss trophy, though. The Moss.
Well, I was just going to say, you had all those stats on Cooper DeJean. I couldn't tell you another single stat by Riley Moss other than first interception by a white corner in 22 years. That's all I needed to see.
I don't think you need to say anything else.
That's all I need to see.
That's all you need to see, man. These are Jackie Robinson, these 2 guys here.
Really breaking grounds here.
Yeah.
All right.
I hope people can see the fun in this. I certainly
all right.
can.
I guess last but not least, the probably most prestigious honors, some may say.
I think this could be the biggest shout-out award, and I'm not going to lie.
The most prestigious honors here.
I was very surprised by who you picked.
I'll explain.
I'll explain. I was going to say,
like maybe said, this was my homer pick, and some people could probably already start thinking who probably is. But Jack, I'll let you kick it off. Who is your inaugural? I'm not even sure if I'm saying that word right. Your first
inaugural
ever
Sweet Life
Man of the
Year award.
And just to reiterate, this award can be given to anyone for any reason whatsoever. Just whoever we feel, just deserves a shout out, some recognition for whatever reason.
Okay.
So yeah, Jack, do you want like a drum roll here, like a little?
My pick for Man of the Year is gonna be Mr. Joe Burrow from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think my understanding of the award is, as you kind of briefly summed it up there, but I kind of took it, I guess, a little bit step further. I was almost kind of interpreted it as like not quite the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, because that's like really like charity and like just like way beyond the NFL stuff, where it's like super respectable,
like off the field.
Oh yeah, they're like players that turn into Mother Teresa for like a summer, and like you know what I mean, go and save dying children and stuff, which Joe Burrow has not done to my knowledge. But I sort of interpret it as just like who is, like, in my opinion, the most likable player, the player who maybe doesn't get enough flowers, who is also just a great player. And I would be remiss if I did not show Joe Burrow some love, because this man is not only a stand-up player who loves the game, but he did everything in his damn power in a healthy season that he doesn't usually get to finally
he heard us. I think he heard us talking earlier in the year.
Yeah, we were doubting him in week 3 or whatever it was, week 4, because they always start off slow. And that is something that I think Joe does have to get a little bit better at. But I mean, when you throw for 4,900 yards, leading the league, throw for 43 touchdowns, leading the league, only 9 interceptions. That's got to be top 3 in terms of turnover, touchdown interception ratio, not radio. Hey, yo, we are on the radio though sometimes. Let's go. And he's got a 75 flat QBR, which is 3rd in the league.
Yep.
They average over 30 points a game, but their defense lets up about 30 points a game. Yeah. It's just, if I was a Bengals fan, man, I don't know.
In some crowds I've heard. I know a lot of people think he should win MVP.
I think he should be in the conversation.
Oh, he's definitely should be in the conversation. It's not crazy. Like people say he should win MVP, and I'm like, yeah, I can't disagree with you. Other than his team not making the playoffs,
he'd be top 3 for the MVP for me.
Yep.
I don't know if he'd be at 2 or 3, but he's top 3.
I could argue he's 2.
I'd go Lamar 1, and then you either go Josh or Joe. But it's just unfortunate because winning is technically not a quarterback stat, but I mean it's tough. It's just hard because he hasn't done anything wrong.
Your team doesn't make the playoffs. Unless you have some sort of like historical year, you're not winning MVP, which is sad. And
it's tough. So, I needed to give some love to him. Everyone likes Joe Burrow. The ladies love Joe Burrow. There was a lot going on with T. Higgins at the start of the season. I think he was franchise tagged at the end of last season. You see him trying to get the ball a little bit more. You see after big plays, he's excited. There's a bunch of memes floating around like he makes like funny faces because he gets like so involved and engaged in the games. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like he gets into it. He loves it.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
And when he's healthy, he's finally healthy. This man finally had a healthy year, and he put up a damn near historic year.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he's healthy again next year because if he's healthy, there's
really hope they get him a defense.
You need some defense.
Even if you just get him like a middle of the road defense, imagine how good that team would be.
So good.
Right.
So that's my man of the year, Joe Burrow. I'll give the floor to you now.
All right. So funny enough, Joe Burrow was in my considerations. I thought of him. However, this guy, the man I want to talk about real quick, isn't my pick, but he was my runner-up. He was my number 2. Same team as Joe Burrow, but Alex Kappa, his one of his offensive guards this year.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I want to give him a quick little shout out is because he wasn't the only Bengal to win a Triple Crown this year. Alex Kappa won a Triple Crown for being the worst offensive guard this season. Alex Kappa was tied first in sacks allowed. He was first in pressures allowed and first in hurries allowed. So Alex Kappa, great job to you, my man. However, you did just fall short of my actual Sweet Life Man of the Year award honors. And my Sweet Life Man of the Year honors goes to Mr. Malik Willis, the backup quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Bit of a homer pick here.
You gotta explain this one to me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Here's my explanation. It's like I said, it's an individual. It's personal. It's a
personal award.
Homer pick here. However, going in, we traded for him. I think we traded like a 6th or 7th round pick for him. Sure, whatever. We could use a backup. I think our backs at the time were like Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt. 2 dudes. Who knows? That never played a snap of actual NFL football outside of the preseason. No, Pratt was a rookie, so we really didn't have a proven backup. So whatever. Trade a 7th for Malik Willis. He had some real-time NFL experience. Didn't look great. I didn't think it looked great. But whatever. 7th round pick. Sure. And then you and I, Jack, we watched that first game together over, I think it was over in Brazil where it was held. And, our starting quarterback happened to get injured
on the 4th quarter.
Basically the last play of the game.
Yeah.
And
that field was atrocious.
Boy, was I devastated. Was it my emotions or, maybe it was a couple Miller Lite emotions running through me, but I was devastated watching that, sitting there on the couch, watching the replay over and over again. Really thought our season was over. Patiently refreshing my Instagram, refreshing Twitter here. I need an update. What's going on? Is he done for the year? How long is he gone for? And then we get the news he's gone probably about 6 weeks. And I'm like, shit, all right. Gonna have to watch Malik Willis for the next 6 weeks. But Malik Willis comes out. I think they play Indianapolis, first game that he has to step into play. I don't want to say it was a great performance. I don't want to say it was a very good performance, but it was good, serviceable. Got the win. On the next one. Cool. All right, we got a win. Played good. I think it was like 12 for 16. Didn't ask him to do much, but he got the job done. And it's on week two. Week two, Mr. Willis starting for us. Pulls out another dub. All right, so we're 2-0.
There was a touchdown in each of those games, by the way.
There was a touchdown. Does have a touchdown in each of those games. I think he had a rushing touchdown in the second one too.
Okay.
So he's playing well. I'm like, shit, all right, we got two straight dubs with Malik Willis. We're 2-1. We're right in this thing as far as the division goes. We're right here.
Yep.
Love makes a speedier recovery than we all thought. Love comes back. So we got 2 dubs with Willis here. Love carries us for a good portion of the year. And then last week, Love goes down again. Probably could have played, but they didn't really have anything to play for. They were already clinched the playoffs. So Malik Willis comes in, plays majority of the game, and plays very well again. Just throws another touchdown. Could have had another dub if it wasn't for Matt LaFleur's stupid clock management at the end of that game. Topic for another day. But you're going to say, like, how are you going to give an award to a guy who played 2.5 games? Finished the season 550 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 124.8 rating. Good for a backup. But when you really think about it, say we didn't trade for him, and say for those 2 games we went out with, say, Sean Clifford or Michael Pratt, unproven guys, and say they played bad and we lose those 2 games. Green Bay is not playing tomorrow. If Malik Willis doesn't win those 2 games.
That is 100% correct.
Green Bay, I'm not wearing this today, I'll tell you that. Green Bay's down in Cancun. We're looking forward to next year. Without Malik Willis, maybe it wasn't him. Maybe LaFleur could have schemed it up whatever quarterback was under center. Who knows? But if it wasn't for Malik Willis for those 2 games, playing very good, I may add, we may not be playing tomorrow. So for that, Malik Willis, you are my sweet life man of the year.
I think that was a great synopsis. I'll give you some credit. You had to persuade me when I saw that it was going to be Malik. I was like, what the hell is this guy smoking right now? I'm like, Malik, man of the year? Anybody? Could have picked anybody. Makes a little bit more sense because of how close that division is with the Vikings, Packers, the Lions. If you guys lose those games, there's no shot.
Yeah.
There's no shot. So it makes a little bit more sense now. Do I still think it might be a little bit of still kind of a funny pick? Yeah, but it makes sense. It makes sense at least. It makes sense. I'm not talking smack on Malik. Malik, dude, no turnovers is the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and that was just the 550. That's just his passing yards. Like, add his rushing yards, you're probably looking at, 700 total yards this year? Flirting with 8 maybe?
Yeah.
Because I think the one game he had,
he went off.
I think I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he ran for, if not close to 100 yards one game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so give him
flowers. Like I said, he had a rushing score too. So, hey, came in, played well those 2 games. Like I said, if we don't win those 2 games with them, we might not be playing tomorrow. And like I said, for all of those reasons, that is my man of the year.
I like it. Hell yeah! Is that gonna wrap up the 2024 to 2025 Sweet Life Award?
That will commence our first annual Sweet Life Award honors. When are the actual NFL award honors? Aren't they like a couple weeks? Is it like the week before the Super Bowl or something?
Something like that. It's after the playoffs, I believe.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll see what happens there. Lamar probably wins MVP, would be my guess. We're not going to go over everyone, but if I had to pick MVP, I'm going to say Lamar. Like I said at the beginning of the show, third highest QB rating for a whole season all time.
Yeah, it's pretty
If
insane.
he won it last year and his stats
Also-
are better this year, he should win it, logically speaking.
I mentioned Joe Burrow having a pretty awesome touchdown to interception ratio. Lamar has 41 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
That's insane. And if you actually look at not all the interceptions, but it was at least 3 of them. Someone like compiled an edit of each one of his interceptions, and it's
They like hit his receivers and
it's
bounce
him like
off.
throwing Zay Flowers like right in the hands, and then or like Rashad Bateman, and like he just bricks it, and then it bobbles, and then he tries to bobble it, and then it goes into the linebacker's hands, and it's like he made the right read, he made it on time, he didn't do anything wrong, but
unfortunately, it reflects in his and
so it's insane, and he has the best QBR in the league right now. Not only,
like I said, like it's
third of all time,
I think
77.5.
If he won it last year and his stats this year across the board are better,
and they're
logically speaking, and they're winning.
It's hard to
hard to dispute
argue with that. Yeah.
So I mean, if there's no questions, I know fantasy season's over, so we're probably not going to get a whole, maybe if not any questions. But just one more time to reiterate before we do hop off here. Go over to Underdog Fantasy, promo code Get Right. You see it there on the left side of your screen or right side. I don't know if this mirrors or not. You get a 50% deposit match to $1,000. Go get your free money. Oh, what am I doing here? There we go. And one last time, let's show these bad boys off. Jack's taking home one of these bad boys this year for winning his one league.
Yes, sir.
But go get a ring. Nice little plaque. Chain. A belt. A trophy. Like, imagine.
What I have. That's the one right there.
That's what's coming?
It's already here. Justin, I want my damn trophy.
You just gotta.
The winner from last year has it in his closet. I gotta go get it. Oh,
you have to like put it on one of your shelves behind you and show it off.
Oh, it's gonna go. It's gonna go on my mantle. Everyone's gonna be able to see this guy. It's gonna. Don't worry, it'll go on the gram or something. I'll put it up there.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, doesn't look like we have any questions. Didn't imagine we were going to, but I hope you guys, did enjoy our first annual Sweet Life Awards. Like I said, any suggestions on awards for next year? Any suggestions for anything at all? Drop in the comments, and we will address those at some point. We promise. But with that being said, get ready for some NFL action later on today.
Yes, sir.
And, if your favorite team's in the playoffs, best of luck. Unless you're an Eagles fan, then
hey now,
best of luck.
Hey now. Dude,
it's an interesting weekend here.
We can
recording Tuesday will be fun depending on the outcome of this game.
Oh God, fun or it'll be interesting.
Like I said, it's gonna be fun for one of us. And we'll just have to see who.
I don't know, man. Cody, you wanted to go to the link and watch the game. That'd be bad. That'd be rough.
We should have. If we knew and planned ahead of time and knew this was going to be I would have absolutely.
Can you guess how much tickets at the 50 right now are? Not right up, not super close, but like if you.
The one guy I worked with was looking for tickets. He said they're like fucking $700 or something for like second level seats.
No.
What is it?
$250.
What?
$250.
What are we doing sitting here?
That's what I was telling my coworker was showing me. I said, "Shout out Moose." I was at the Dallas game.
$250.
I was like,
"What are we doing sitting here?" All right, guys. Well, we're gonna hop off. We're gonna go buy our tickets, and we're gonna go down to the link tomorrow.
Right.
If you do have any questions between now and next show. Follow the Instagram, drop some comments. We now have the X page, which the username, whatever you want to call it, will be in the description below the video. Drop some questions or anything there.
Yes, sir.
But until then, we'll see you all next week.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided.